The thrill of the wind whipping past my face, the exhilarating rush of the ocean beneath my board, and the gleaming sun overhead. Everything was perfect until the moment my world shattered. I was on the water, feeling every muscle in my body working in harmony as I executed a daring maneuver. The sky was clear, the waves were just right, and I was fully immersed in the joy of kitesurfing. But then, something caught my eye, and my heart nearly stopped. From the corner of my vision, I saw her. Rachel. She was standing on the shore with Greg, the kitesurfing instructor I had entrusted with my training. They were too close, their body language too intimate. Rachel's laughter rang out, and Greg's hand brushed her back in a way that made my blood boil. The thrill of the sport turned into a sickening sensation of betrayal. I had been so excited for this trip. An isolated island, just the two of us, a chance to rekindle our connection. I signed up for Greg's lessons to surprise Rachel, thinking it would be a fantastic addition to our vacation. I never imagined it would turn into this nightmare. Every day, while I practiced on the water, Rachel seemed more enthralled with Greg. They'd exchange glances, and sometimes, Greg would linger near her longer than necessary. One day, as I returned from another intense session, I caught them together. They were embraced, sharing a moment that was far too affectionate for mere friends. My heart sank. The trust I thought we had was nothing but a facade. I felt a surge of anger and pain, but it wasn't enough to simply confront them. As the days passed, I plotted my revenge. I couldn't just let this betrayal go unpunished. I decided to turn my kitesurfing skills into a weapon, a way to expose their deceit in a manner they'd never forget. I knew Greg was passionate about his craft, so I'd use that against him. I threw myself into practice with a newfound determination. My tricks became more daring, more impressive. I envisioned a spectacular performance. One that would not only showcase my skills but also make a statement. I wanted Rachel and Greg to experience the full weight of their actions, and I planned to do it in front of an audience that would make them squirm. The day arrived. I invited Rachel and Greg to watch my performance, framing it as a special event to celebrate the end of my lessons. They eagerly accepted, unaware of what I had in store. As I started my routine, I put on a show that was nothing short of breathtaking. The sky was my canvas, and my kite, my brush. The crowd on the beach watched in awe as I executed complex maneuvers and high-flying stunts. But then came the climax. Mid-performance, I unveiled the banners I had discreetly set up. Each banner boldly displayed messages of betrayal, exposing their affair for all to see. The words Rachel and Greg, a show of deceit and trust shattered, flashed brightly against the backdrop of the ocean. The shock on their faces was palpable. Rachel's eyes widened in horror, and Greg's usual confident demeanor crumbled. The crowd murmured, the once cheerful atmosphere now thick with tension. I kept performing, my heart pounding, but my resolve unwavering. This was my ultimate statement, and it had to be seen through. As I wrapped up my act and returned to shore, the once pristine image of our vacation was forever tainted. The island, which was supposed to be a paradise, had become a stage for my personal drama. Rachel and Greg tried to leave quickly, but the damage was done. I had made my point, and though the pain of betrayal lingered, the satisfaction of unveiling their secret was bittersweet. The days following the exposure were like a surreal haze. Rachel and I managed to return to our rental house without much conversation. The silence was suffocating, punctuated only by the occasional, strained attempts at normalcy. I knew I had to confront the situation, but every time I tried, my anger and hurt would bubble to the surface, turning any potential dialogue into a heated argument. Rachel avoided my gaze as much as possible. She spent her days alone in the house, refusing to accompany me on my kitesurfing sessions or even to explore the island. Greg, too, seemed to disappear from the scene. His absence was both a relief and a source of irritation. He had left the island abruptly, leaving me with a sense of unfinished business. The island, which once seemed so serene, now felt like a prison. The endless stretch of white sand and crystal-clear waters, which had promised an escape from our everyday life, now felt tainted by the recent events. I found myself alone in my thoughts, replaying every detail of the betrayal, trying to make sense of how things had spiraled so badly. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with hues of pink and orange, Rachel approached me. Her steps were hesitant, and her face was marked by a mixture of desperation and remorse. I was sitting on the beach, lost in my thoughts, the salty breeze a stark contrast to the turmoil within me. Adam, she began, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I watched as she came closer, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I was torn between the desire to scream and the need to hear what she had to say. Finally, I nodded, indicating that she could proceed. She sat down beside me, her shoulders slumped. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I never meant for any of this to happen. Sorry? I repeated, my voice edged with disbelief. Is that all you can say? Rachel looked at me with a pained expression. I know it's not enough. I know that I've ruined everything. But I didn't know how to stop it. I got caught up in the moment, and caught up in the moment? I interrupted, unable to contain my frustration. This isn't some minor mistake, Rachel. You betrayed me. You lied and manipulated. Do you have any idea what that feels like? She swallowed hard, her eyes filled with tears. I do. And I regret it more than you can imagine. I was looking for something I couldn't find in our relationship. And I let it lead me down a path I now deeply regret. I looked away, unable to meet her gaze. The pain was raw and sharp, each word she spoke a reminder of the trust that had been shattered. Do you even know why you did it? I asked quietly, more to myself than to her. Rachel shook her head, a gesture of helplessness. I wish I could explain it. I was unhappy, and I thought maybe finding excitement elsewhere would help. But it only made things worse. I see that now. The silence stretched between us, filled with the weight of what had happened. The beautiful island seemed to mock us with its tranquility, a cruel contrast to our shattered reality. I wanted to forgive her, to move past this, but the sting of betrayal was too fresh. Eventually, I stood up, brushing the sand from my clothes. I need some time to think, I said, my voice firm but weary. I don't know what's next for us, but I can't do this right now. Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand, she whispered. I'll give you the space you need. As I walked away, the sun continued its descent, casting long shadows across the beach. I was left alone with my thoughts, grappling with the uncertainty of what came next. The island, with its serene beauty, now felt like a stage where the most painful drama of my life had unfolded. I knew that no matter how much I tried to escape, the echoes of this betrayal would follow me long after we left this place. I spent the next few days trying to piece together my shattered thoughts and emotions. The once idyllic island now felt like a constant reminder of the betrayal that had unfolded. Every corner seemed to whisper secrets of the past, and every sound of the ocean was tainted by the memory of Rachel and Greg's deceit. I threw myself into my kitesurfing practice with an obsessive intensity. The ocean had always been my refuge, a place where I could clear my mind and focus solely on the rhythm of the waves and the pull of the kite. But now, each session felt like a battleground, a place where I struggled to maintain my composure and push through the anger that surged within me. During one of these sessions, I noticed a group of tourists gathered on the beach, watching the performance with keen interest. It was a mix of curiosity and admiration, and their presence gave me an idea. I began to plan an event that would not only showcase my skills but also serve as a public display of the pain I was feeling. Rachel remained distant, her presence barely noticeable. She spent most of her time in the house, and when she did venture out, it was clear she was avoiding any confrontation. I wondered if she was trying to avoid me or simply couldn't bear to face the reality of what had happened. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with deep orange and pink hues, I finalized my plans. I had prepared banners and signs that would make a statement, something that would leave no room for misunderstanding. I wanted Rachel and Greg to experience the full weight of their betrayal. And I knew that a grand display would be the ultimate way to do it. I went over the details with the local staff, ensuring everything was set for my performance. They were curious about the purpose behind the banners, but I gave only vague explanations, saying it was part of a special routine I had planned. I could see the skepticism in their eyes, but they complied, eager to see what I had in store. The day of the event arrived, and the beach was buzzing with activity. The tourists gathered, excited to see what promised to be an extraordinary show. Rachel and Greg, unaware of the full extent of what was about to happen, were among the onlookers. I could see Rachel's face, a mix of anticipation and apprehension. As I took to the water, the tension was palpable. I started with a series of impressive tricks, each one more daring than the last. The crowd was captivated, and I could feel their energy fueling my performance. But this was only the beginning. The real show was yet to come. Halfway through my routine, I executed a dramatic aerial maneuver and then, with a swift movement, revealed the banners I had hidden on the beach. The bright colors and bold text stood out starkly against the backdrop of the ocean. Words like Rachel and Greg, a betrayal unveiled and trust shattered flashed prominently, capturing the attention of everyone present. The shock on Rachel and Greg's faces was immediate and profound. Rachel's hand flew to her mouth, and Greg's confident demeanor evaporated as he gaped at the display. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of surprise and sympathy. I continued my routine, pushing the boundaries of my performance while ensuring that the banners remained in full view. I wanted every person on the beach, including Rachel and Greg, to feel the weight of what had happened. The spectacle was both a cathartic release for me and a harsh revelation for them. When I finally finished, the applause from the crowd was thunderous. I could barely hear it over the pounding of my own heart. As I made my way back to shore, I saw Rachel and Greg trying to avoid the eyes of those around them. The once peaceful island had become the stage for the most painful chapter of my life. The aftermath was a blur of emotions. Rachel tried to approach me again, but I couldn't bring myself to listen. The public exposure had done its job, and I felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. The island, which had started as a promise of romance and escape, now stood as a testament to betrayal and heartbreak. The days following the event were a chaotic mix of emotional upheaval and logistical nightmares. Rachel and I barely spoke, each interaction laced with tension and avoidance. Our conversations, when they happened, were clipped and devoid of any real connection. The island, once a place of romantic escape, had become a battleground of raw emotions and unresolved conflicts. Rachel's attempts to reach out to me continued, but each time I shut her down. I couldn't bring myself to engage in a meaningful dialogue. Not yet. My mind was still reeling from the shock and anger, and I needed space to process it all. Every time I saw her, it was a reminder of the betrayal, and I wasn't ready to confront it head-on. One afternoon, I decided to take a break from the island's familiar surroundings. I rented a small boat and set out to explore the nearby coves and hidden beaches. The solitude of the open water provided a temporary escape from the emotional storm that had engulfed me. The gentle rocking of the boat and the sound of the waves against the hull were soothing. If only for a brief moment. As I navigated through the serene waters, my thoughts drifted to the future. What would happen after this trip? Could I ever trust Rachel again? The betrayal felt so deep that even the thought of reconciliation seemed impossible. I needed to figure out what I wanted and how to move forward from here. Returning to the house, I found Rachel waiting for me. She was standing by the porch, her expression a mix of hope and resignation. I could see that she was trying to muster the courage to speak. But I was not in the mood for any more emotional confrontations. "Adam," she began hesitantly as I approached. "Can we talk?" I sighed deeply. "I think we need to, but not here. Let's go for a walk." We strolled along the beach, the soft sand beneath our feet providing a stark contrast to the heaviness of our conversation. The ocean's rhythmic waves were a soothing backdrop to our uneasy dialogue. "I know you're angry," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "I don't blame you. What I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that I'm deeply sorry. I made a mistake, a huge mistake." I stopped walking and turned to face her. "Sorry doesn't change what happened, Rachel. You've broken something that can't easily be fixed. Trust, once shattered, takes a long time to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all." Tears welled up in her eyes. I know it's going to take time, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. But I need you to tell me what you want. I need to know if there's any chance for us." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I was at a loss. What did I want? The question was more complex than I had anticipated. Part of me wanted to walk away, to leave the island and this painful chapter behind. Another part of me was clinging to the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to heal. "I need time," I said finally, my voice steady but weary. "I can't give you an answer right now. I need to figure things out for myself. And I need to see if there's a way for us to move past this. Or if we're better off apart." Rachel nodded, her face etched with sadness. "I understand. I'll give you the space you need. Just know that I'm here, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." As she walked away, I felt a strange mix of relief and regret. The walk had been a step towards confronting the reality of our situation, but it also underscored how far we had drifted apart. The future was uncertain, and the island, once a symbol of romantic possibility, now stood as a monument to our fractured relationship. The days continued to pass in a blur of introspection and half-hearted attempts at normalcy. The island was beautiful, but it now served as a constant reminder of the broken trust between us. I knew that whatever decision I made, it would come with its own set of challenges and consequences. And as I watched the sun set over the horizon, I realized that this journey was far from over. The road to healing, if it even existed, was long and fraught with obstacles. The final days of our trip were marked by a painful blend of avoidance and tentative attempts at normalcy. Rachel and I navigated our way through the remaining time on the island, each of us caught in our own world of unresolved emotions. Our interactions were minimal, confined to basic necessities and polite nods. It was clear that neither of us knew how to bridge the chasm that had opened between us. On the last full day of our vacation, I decided to take a solitary walk along the beach, hoping the solitude would help me clear my mind. The familiar stretch of sand and the gentle lapping of waves provided a comforting, if bittersweet, backdrop to my thoughts. I replayed the events of the past few weeks, trying to make sense of everything and determine the path forward. As I walked, I saw the remnants of the performance, discarded banners and beach chairs from the day of the reveal. The sight was a harsh reminder of the spectacle I had staged, a public display of my pain that had, in its own way, provided some semblance of closure. Yet, it also felt like a symbolic end to a chapter that had left me feeling hollow and uncertain. Rachel eventually joined me on the beach, her presence a reluctant acceptance of the finality that our last day symbolized. She walked beside me in silence, her footsteps almost in sync with mine. The quiet between us was heavy, filled with unspoken words and the weight of the past. "Adam," Rachel said softly, breaking the silence. "I know this isn't easy. I don't expect you to have all the answers right now. But I want to make sure that whatever decision you make, it's the right one for you." I glanced at her, noticing the sincerity in her eyes. "I've been thinking a lot about what comes next. It's not just about whether we can rebuild what was lost. It's also about whether I can truly move past this." Rachel nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I understand. And if you decide that we can't move forward together, I'll accept that. I just want you to be honest with yourself and with me." We continued walking, the conversation turning to lighter topics as we tried to salvage some sense of normalcy. We talked about the sights we had seen, the experiences we had shared, and the things we wished we could have done differently. It was an attempt to remember the good times amidst the chaos of our recent history. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the beach, I knew that the end of our trip was approaching. The thought of returning home loomed over me, bringing with it the realization that our relationship had been irrevocably changed. The island, once a haven of hope, now stood as a testament to a difficult and painful chapter in our lives. When the time came to leave, I packed my bags with a sense of finality. Rachel helped with the process, her actions mechanical and distant. There were no arguments, no dramatic farewells, just a quiet acceptance of what had transpired. At the airport, as we prepared to board our separate flights, Rachel turned to me. "Thank you for giving me a chance to talk, and for letting me be a part of this journey, even if it didn't end the way we hoped." I nodded, my heart heavy. "I'm grateful for the honesty we've shared. It's been a painful process, but I hope it will lead to some clarity." With a final, lingering glance, we parted ways. The airport, with its sterile environment and distant hum, felt like a stark contrast to the island's natural beauty. It was a place of transitions, where we would each embark on separate paths, shaped by the experiences we had shared. As I boarded my flight, I looked out the window one last time, watching the island fade into the distance. It was a poignant end to a tumultuous journey, one that had tested the limits of trust and resilience. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew that this chapter, though painful, had been a crucial step towards finding a way forward, whether it led to reconciliation or to new beginnings. Returning home was like stepping into a new reality. The familiar surroundings of our house seemed foreign and cold after the emotional whirlwind of the past weeks. I found myself wandering through rooms that once felt comforting but now echoed with memories of a happier time. Now tainted by the betrayal that had unfolded. The first few days back were disorienting. I busied myself with mundane tasks, cleaning and organizing in an attempt to distract myself from the overwhelming emotions that swirled beneath the surface. My routine, once a source of stability, now felt empty and devoid of meaning. Rachel and I had agreed to take some time apart, a decision that seemed both necessary and painful. We needed space to process everything that had happened and figure out our next steps. The silence that now filled the house was both a relief and a constant reminder of the fractured trust between us. During this period of separation, I found solace in reconnecting with old friends and immersing myself in work. I started going to the gym regularly, channeling my frustration into physical exertion. It was a way to release the pent-up anger and sadness, to reclaim a sense of control over my life. One evening, while sifting through old photo albums, I came across pictures from happier times, vacations, celebrations, and moments of pure joy. Each image was a stark contrast to the current reality, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. The person I had been before the island felt like a distant memory, someone I no longer recognized. Rachel reached out occasionally, sending texts and voicemails that were often met with delayed or no responses. Her messages were filled with apologies and pleas for a chance to talk, but I wasn't ready to engage. I needed time to understand my own feelings before I could address the complexities of our relationship. A few weeks after returning, I decided to meet with a therapist. The sessions were a mixture of catharsis and introspection, providing a safe space to explore my feelings and the impact of the betrayal. The therapist helped me navigate the maze of emotions and encouraged me to think about what I truly wanted moving forward. One day, as I was leaving a session, I received a call from Rachel. She wanted to meet and talk, to finally have a face-to-face conversation about our future. The request was unexpected, but after much contemplation, I agreed. I knew it was a necessary step, one that would either bring clarity or force me to confront the reality of our situation. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where we could speak without the confines of our home. As I approached the cafe, my heart raced with a mix of anticipation and dread. I had no idea what to expect from this meeting, but I was determined to face it head on. Rachel was already there when I arrived, sitting at a table near the window. Her expression was a mix of nervousness and hope. I could see the weight of the past weeks in her eyes, and it mirrored the uncertainty I felt. "Adam," she greeted me softly as I sat down. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." I nodded, my gaze steady. "I needed to hear what you have to say. This is an important step for both of us." Rachel took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts before speaking. "I've been reflecting a lot on everything that happened. I know I made a terrible mistake, and I want to take full responsibility for it. But I also want to be honest about where I am and what I want." The sincerity in her voice was undeniable, and for a moment, I was tempted to give in to the emotional weight of the situation. But I reminded myself of the importance of clarity and honesty. "I've been doing a lot of thinking as well," I said. "I've come to realize that while forgiveness might be possible, rebuilding trust is a long and difficult process. I'm not sure where that leaves us. But I know I need to be honest with myself and with you." Rachel nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "I understand. I know it's not going to be easy, and I don't expect us to have all the answers right now. But I want to be open to whatever comes next, whether that's working through this together or going our separate ways." As we talked, I felt a sense of cautious hope mixed with the lingering pain of betrayal. This meeting was a step towards understanding, but it was clear that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. The future was uncertain, but facing it with honesty and openness was the only way forward. Leaving the cafe, I felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. The conversation had been difficult, but it had also provided a glimmer of clarity. The path to healing and resolution was still unclear, but taking this step was a necessary part of navigating the aftermath of our shattered trust. The weeks following our cafe meeting were a period of significant reflection and emotional recalibration. Rachel and I remained in touch, but our interactions were limited to occasional phone calls and emails. The space between us allowed for a period of introspection, where we both had the chance to consider our individual needs and desires. I continued to focus on my own healing and self-improvement. The therapy sessions provided valuable insights, helping me untangle the complex emotions I was grappling with. I also found solace in routine activities, working out, catching up with friends, and rediscovering hobbies that had been pushed aside. Rachel's messages were a mixture of apologies and updates on her own journey. She was attending therapy sessions of her own, working on understanding her actions and their impact. Her commitment to personal growth was evident, and though it was a small comfort, it didn't erase the damage that had been done. One evening, as I was finishing up a workout at the gym, I received an email from Rachel. She proposed a follow-up meeting to discuss where we stood and explore whether there was a path forward for us. The idea of meeting again stirred up a swirl of emotions. Part of me was hesitant, fearing that reopening old wounds would be counterproductive, while another part was hopeful that it could provide more clarity. I agreed to meet her, setting a date for the following weekend. We chose a quiet park, a neutral setting where we could talk without the pressures of our previous environments. The decision to meet was driven by a desire for closure and understanding, no matter how difficult it might be. As the day approached, I found myself alternating between apprehension and anticipation. I needed to be honest about where I stood and what I was willing to consider for the future. It was a chance to address the lingering questions and concerns that had been simmering beneath the surface. The day of the meeting arrived, and I arrived at the park early to gather my thoughts. The park was serene, with its winding paths and tranquil pond providing a peaceful backdrop. When Rachel arrived, she looked nervous but determined. We greeted each other with a subdued warmth, a far cry from the emotional intensity of our previous interactions. We found a quiet bench and sat down, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the park. Rachel began, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Thank you for agreeing to meet again. I know this isn't easy, but I wanted to see if there's a way we can move forward from here." I nodded, taking a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking and reflecting. The past few weeks have given me a better sense of what I want and need. I've come to realize that forgiveness is possible, but rebuilding trust will take time and effort. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, and she reached out to take my hand. I understand that. I'm willing to work on rebuilding trust, but I also know that it's a process we'll need to navigate together. I want to show you that I'm committed to making things right. Her sincerity was palpable, and I could see the depth of her remorse. However, the decision wasn't solely about her willingness to change. It was also about whether I could genuinely envision a future with her after everything that had happened. "I appreciate your commitment," I said. "But I need to be honest, I'm still unsure about the future. The betrayal has left a significant impact, and while I'm open to the possibility of reconciliation, it's going to require a lot of patience and understanding." Rachel nodded, her expression reflecting a mixture of sadness and hope. "I understand. I'm willing to be patient and give us the time we need. I just want to do whatever it takes to make things right, even if that means taking things one step at a time." We spent the next hour talking about our individual journeys and the steps we would need to take if we decided to move forward together. The conversation was a mix of candid reflections and hopeful projections. We acknowledged that there were no guarantees, but the willingness to work through the issues was a positive sign. As we parted ways, I felt a cautious sense of hope. The meeting had provided some clarity and a tentative plan for the future, though it was clear that much work lay ahead. The path to rebuilding trust and healing was still uncertain, but facing it with honesty and openness was the first step towards finding a way forward. The park, with its tranquil setting and fading sunlight, felt like a fitting backdrop to the beginning of this new chapter. The journey ahead would be challenging, but it was one that we were both willing to undertake, with the hope that, in time, we could find a path to healing and renewal. The weeks that followed our meeting in the park were a time of tentative progress. Rachel and I made a conscious effort to communicate openly and honestly. We talked regularly, discussing our feelings and the challenges we faced. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when old wounds felt like they were being reopened, but we were both committed to working through the issues that had arisen. One of the key aspects of our approach was to establish clear boundaries and expectations. We agreed on the importance of transparency and the need to rebuild trust incrementally. Rachel made genuine efforts to show her commitment, from attending therapy sessions to actively participating in discussions about our future. I, in turn, tried to remain open to the possibility of healing while being honest about my own emotional struggles. To gauge our progress, we decided to engage in activities that had once brought us joy and allowed us to reconnect on a more personal level. We revisited some of our favorite spots, places that held positive memories from earlier in our relationship. It was an attempt to recapture some of the happiness we had shared before the betrayal. One weekend, we took a day trip to a nearby vineyard we used to frequent. The drive was filled with a mix of nostalgic chatter and awkward silences. When we arrived, the vineyard was as beautiful as ever, with its rolling hills and lush grapevines creating a picturesque landscape. We took a tour, sampled some wines, and tried to enjoy the day for what it was, a chance to reconnect and explore the possibility of moving forward. The day went well overall. We managed to share some genuine laughs and engage in meaningful conversations. Yet, underlying every moment was a subtle reminder of the past, a shadow that followed us despite our efforts to move past it. It was a reminder that while we were making progress, the journey was far from complete. As we drove back home, I found myself reflecting on the day's events. There was a sense of cautious optimism mixed with lingering doubt. The vineyard had provided a temporary escape from our daily struggles, but it didn't erase the deeper issues we were working through. Rachel seemed to sense my conflicted feelings. She reached over and took my hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "I know it's not easy," she said softly, "but I appreciate that you're giving us a chance. It means a lot to me." I squeezed her hand in return, acknowledging her gesture. "I'm trying. I want to believe that we can find a way to heal and rebuild what we had. It's just going to take time and a lot of effort." We continued to take small steps toward rebuilding our relationship, each one a blend of hope and uncertainty. We scheduled regular check-ins to discuss our progress and address any lingering concerns. The process was slow, and there were setbacks along the way, but we both recognized that this was part of the journey. One of the most challenging aspects was learning to trust each other again. It wasn't just about believing in each other's words but also in our actions. We had to prove that we were committed to change and that we were willing to put in the effort to repair the damage that had been done. Despite the difficulties, there were moments when the connection between us felt genuine and hopeful. We celebrated small victories and acknowledged the progress we were making. It was a reminder that healing was a gradual process, one that required patience, understanding, and a willingness to face the past head-on. The journey was far from over, and the future remained uncertain. But by taking these steps together, we were working towards a new chapter in our relationship. One defined not just by the pain of betrayal but also by the possibility of redemption and renewal. It was a challenging road, but it was one we were willing to navigate, with the hope that, in time, we could find a way to move forward and rebuild what had been lost. The days turned into weeks, and our efforts to rebuild our relationship continued with a mix of cautious optimism and persistent challenges. We both acknowledged the slow pace of our progress and the many hurdles that still lay ahead. It was clear that repairing the trust we once shared would require more than just good intentions. It needed consistent actions and unwavering commitment. One afternoon, I decided to take a break from our routine and plan a small surprise for Rachel. I wanted to create a positive experience that could serve as a reminder of the reasons we had come together in the first place. I chose to revisit the place where we had first met, a cozy cafe downtown with an old-fashioned charm that held special meaning for us. I coordinated with the cafe to arrange a private table and set up a small, intimate dinner. I hoped it would be a step towards rekindling the warmth and connection we had once enjoyed. The evening arrived, and Rachel seemed genuinely touched by the effort. Her smile, though tinged with nervousness, was a reassuring sign that she appreciated the gesture. As we settled into our table, the cafe's ambiance provided a calming backdrop. Soft jazz played in the background, and the flickering candlelight created a romantic atmosphere. We talked about lighter topics, reminiscing about our early days together and the dreams we had shared. It was a welcome diversion from the more intense conversations that had become a routine part of our interactions. During dinner, Rachel reached across the table and took my hand. Her touch was warm, and I could sense the sincerity in her eyes. "Thank you for doing this," she said softly. "It means a lot to me. I know we're still working through things, but moments like this remind me of what we have and why it's worth fighting for." I squeezed her hand, feeling a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "I'm glad you're enjoying it. I want to believe that we can move past this and find a way to rebuild what we've lost. It's just going to take time and effort from both of us." As the evening drew to a close, we left the cafe with a renewed sense of connection. The experience had been a positive reminder of our shared history, but it also highlighted the ongoing challenges we faced. The effort to create a meaningful moment was a step in the right direction, yet it was clear that rebuilding our relationship required more than just occasional gestures. In the weeks that followed, we continued to make progress, though it was uneven and fraught with setbacks. We participated in couples therapy to help navigate the complexities of our relationship and to gain tools for managing our emotions and rebuilding trust. The sessions were both illuminating and demanding, pushing us to confront difficult truths and to work through our issues with honesty and patience. Rachel and I also made a conscious effort to focus on the positive aspects of our relationship. We celebrated small victories, such as improved communication and moments of genuine understanding. These instances provided hope and reinforced our commitment to working through the challenges. Despite the progress, there were still moments of doubt and frustration. Old wounds sometimes resurfaced, and navigating our emotions was an ongoing struggle. However, we remained dedicated to the process, recognizing that healing and rebuilding trust was a gradual and nonlinear journey. One evening, after a particularly challenging therapy session, Rachel and I sat on the couch, exhausted but hopeful. "This has been one of the hardest things we've ever done," she said quietly. "But I believe in us. I believe that we can get through this, even if it's a long and difficult road." I nodded, feeling a mixture of fatigue and determination. "I believe in us too. It's not going to be easy, but I'm committed to trying. I know that rebuilding trust is a process, and I'm willing to be patient and persistent." The journey was far from over, and there were still many hurdles to overcome. But as we faced each challenge together, there was a sense of shared purpose and a commitment to moving forward. The road to healing was winding and uncertain, but it was a road we were willing to travel, with the hope that, in time, we could rebuild our relationship and rediscover the connection that had once brought us together. As the months passed, the rhythm of our days began to take on a new normalcy. Rachel and I continued to work through the complexities of our relationship, with therapy sessions and open conversations becoming a routine part of our lives. The journey was far from easy, but there was a sense of progress, however incremental. One Saturday afternoon, I decided to visit an old friend who had recently moved to a nearby town. The visit was intended as a break from our routine and a chance to gain perspective. It was a welcome distraction and an opportunity to talk about my experiences with someone outside of our immediate circle. During the visit, my friend asked about how things were going with Rachel. I spoke candidly about our efforts to rebuild trust and the challenges we faced. My friend's support and understanding provided a fresh perspective and reaffirmed my resolve to continue working through our issues. Returning home later that evening, I found Rachel waiting for me. She looked both hopeful and anxious. "How was your visit?" she asked as I walked through the door. "It was good," I replied, taking a seat beside her. It was nice to talk things over with someone who isn't directly involved. It gave me some clarity and perspective. Rachel nodded, her eyes searching mine. "I've been thinking a lot about us and where we're headed. I want to make sure that we're both on the same page and that we're moving in a direction that's right for us." I appreciated her honesty. "I've been thinking about that too. It's important for us to have a clear understanding of our goals and expectations. We've made progress, but there's still a lot of work ahead." We spent the evening discussing our future, what we both wanted and needed from the relationship. The conversation was both challenging and constructive. We talked about our individual goals, the compromises we were willing to make, and the areas where we still needed to grow. As we spoke, I realized how much our journey had evolved. We were no longer just dealing with the fallout of betrayal. We were actively shaping our future and working towards a shared vision. The process was arduous, but it was also a testament to our commitment to each other. One of the key realizations from our discussion was the need for continued patience and understanding. Rebuilding trust required not just time but also consistent effort and empathy. We acknowledged that there would be setbacks and difficult moments, but we were determined to face them together. In the weeks that followed, we continued to make small but meaningful strides. We participated in activities that fostered connection and enjoyment, from cooking meals together to taking weekend trips. These experiences, while modest, helped reinforce the bond between us and provided a sense of normalcy amid the ongoing challenges. There were still moments of tension and doubt, but they were increasingly balanced by positive experiences and a growing sense of mutual understanding. We learned to celebrate the small victories and to address setbacks with a renewed focus on our shared goals. As we approached the anniversary of the incident that had rocked our relationship, I reflected on the journey we had undertaken. The path had been fraught with difficulty, but it had also been marked by moments of growth and renewed connection. Our relationship was not yet fully healed, but it had been transformed by our efforts and commitment. On the day of the anniversary, Rachel and I decided to take a quiet walk through a nearby park. It was a symbolic gesture, a way to acknowledge the progress we had made and to reflect on the journey ahead. As we walked hand in hand, I felt a sense of cautious optimism. The road to rebuilding our relationship was still ongoing, but there was a shared commitment to facing it together. The future remained uncertain, but the journey had brought us closer and had deepened our understanding of one another. The park, with its serene surroundings and the gentle rustle of leaves, felt like a fitting setting for this reflection. It was a reminder of the beauty that could emerge from the challenges we had faced and the hope that, despite the difficulties, there was a path forward. A path that we were willing to walk together, one step at a time. The months rolled on, and the landscape of our relationship continued to shift and evolve. Rachel and I had managed to create a fragile but functional equilibrium, navigating the complexities of trust and commitment with a mix of hope and realism. Despite our progress, we were acutely aware that the journey was far from over. One evening, as we sat on the porch, enjoying the quiet after dinner, Rachel turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking a lot about how far we've come and where we're headed. I know it's been a long and difficult road, but I feel like we're starting to find our way." I nodded, taking a sip of my drink. "I agree. We've made a lot of progress, and I think we're on the right path. But there's still work to be done. We need to keep focusing on rebuilding and reinforcing our connection." Rachel took a deep breath. "I've been considering whether we should make a more concrete plan for our future. Something that helps us stay focused on our goals and ensures we're both on the same page." I thought about her suggestion. It made sense to create a framework that could guide us through the ongoing process. "That sounds like a good idea. Having a plan could give us a clearer sense of direction and help us address any issues that come up." We spent the next few hours drafting a plan for our future together. It was a comprehensive approach that included setting short-term goals, such as improving communication and spending quality time together, as well as long-term objectives, like evaluating our progress regularly and addressing any emerging concerns. One of the key elements of our plan was establishing regular check-ins. We agreed to schedule these discussions to review our progress, address any issues, and make adjustments as needed. It was a way to ensure that we stayed proactive and engaged in the process of rebuilding our relationship. Another important aspect was creating space for individual growth. We recognized that each of us needed time to pursue personal interests and goals, which would contribute to our overall well-being and strengthen our partnership. Over the next few months, we implemented our plan with a mix of determination and flexibility. The regular check-ins proved to be valuable, providing a structured opportunity to discuss our progress and make necessary adjustments. We also found that allowing space for individual growth helped us both feel more fulfilled and balanced. Despite the positive changes, there were still moments of doubt and difficulty. Old habits sometimes resurfaced, and we had to confront lingering insecurities. However, the framework we had established helped us navigate these challenges with a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. One evening, as we reflected on the recent months, Rachel looked at me with a mixture of gratitude and relief. "I'm really proud of how we've handled everything. It's been tough, but I feel like we're genuinely making progress." I smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I'm proud too. We've come a long way, and I think we're building something strong and meaningful. It's not perfect, but we're working on it together." Our journey had transformed from one of mere survival to one of active rebuilding. We were no longer just trying to mend what was broken, we were actively shaping a new and improved version of our relationship. The process was ongoing, but the steps we had taken provided a solid foundation for the future. As we sat together, the evening air was filled with a sense of calm and possibility. The road ahead remained uncertain, but the commitment we had made to each other and the progress we had achieved were a testament to our resilience and dedication. We knew that there would be more challenges to face and more work to do, but we were ready to confront them with the same determination and hope that had brought us this far. The journey was far from over, but with each step, we were creating a stronger and more meaningful connection. The summer drew to a close, and with it came a sense of reflective calm. Rachel and I continued to navigate the path we had set for ourselves, gradually making adjustments and learning to embrace the new rhythm of our relationship. Our plan had given us structure, and the regular check-ins had become a cornerstone of our progress. One Sunday afternoon, we decided to visit a local fair that had come to town. It was a spontaneous choice, meant to break up the routine and provide a chance to enjoy something lighthearted. We both needed a reminder of the simple joys we could still share together. The fair was vibrant and bustling, filled with colorful booths, laughter, and the scent of various foods. We wandered through the stalls, sampling treats and participating in games. The carefree atmosphere provided a welcome distraction from our more intense conversations and challenges. As we played a ring toss game and won a small stuffed animal, we laughed together, momentarily letting go of the weight of our ongoing efforts. It was a reminder that amid the complexities of rebuilding our relationship, there were still moments of genuine fun and connection. Later, we found ourselves sitting on a bench, enjoying cotton candy and watching a local band perform. Rachel turned to me, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the stage lights. "This has been really nice," she said, her voice carrying a hint of relief. "It feels good to have a day like this, where we can just enjoy each other's company without thinking about everything we're working through." I nodded, appreciating the sentiment. It does feel nice. Sometimes we get so caught up in the process that we forget to enjoy the simple things. Days like this remind me of why it's worth putting in the effort. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue over the fairgrounds, we walked hand in hand, feeling a renewed sense of closeness. The day had provided a break from the more challenging aspects of our journey, and it had allowed us to reconnect in a meaningful way. Despite the positive experience, we knew that the challenges we faced were not behind us. The journey of rebuilding our relationship was ongoing, and there were still areas that required attention and effort. However, the day at the fair had reinforced our commitment to each other and reminded us of the importance of finding joy amidst the difficulties. In the weeks that followed, we continued to focus on maintaining the balance between addressing our issues and celebrating our successes. The regular check-ins remained a crucial part of our routine, helping us stay aligned and address any emerging concerns. We also made an effort to prioritize activities that fostered our connection, such as cooking meals together, exploring new hobbies, and spending quality time with friends and family. These experiences helped to reinforce the positive aspects of our relationship and provided a sense of shared fulfillment. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, Rachel turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "I've been reflecting on our journey and how much we've accomplished. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like we're building something stronger and more resilient." I looked at her, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I agree. We've faced a lot of challenges, but we've also made significant progress. It's been a tough road, but I believe in what we're creating together." As we watched the stars begin to appear in the evening sky, there was a quiet sense of contentment. The road ahead remained uncertain, but the commitment we had shown to each other and the progress we had made were signs of hope and resilience. Our journey was ongoing, and we knew that there would be more challenges to face. However, the experiences we had shared and the strides we had made provided a solid foundation for the future. We were learning to navigate the complexities of our relationship with a sense of purpose and determination. The summer's end brought with it a renewed sense of optimism. As we faced the future together, we were ready to tackle the challenges that lay ahead, confident in the strength of our bond and the commitment we had made to each other. The journey was far from over, but with each step, we were building a relationship that was stronger and more meaningful than before. The arrival of autumn brought a crispness to the air and a change in our routine. The previous months had been a blend of progress and setbacks, and while we were far from perfect, there was a growing sense of stability in our relationship. Rachel and I continued to implement the framework we had developed, and the regular check-ins were proving to be beneficial. One weekend, we decided to take a short trip to the countryside to enjoy the fall foliage. It was a chance to get away from our everyday surroundings and immerse ourselves in the natural beauty of the season. The idea was to spend some quality time together, away from the distractions of daily life, and to focus on each other. The drive was pleasant, with the landscape transforming into a patchwork of red, orange, and gold as we ventured further from the city. We arrived at a charming bed and breakfast nestled in the heart of a picturesque town. The cozy atmosphere and the warmth of the place made it a perfect setting for a relaxing getaway. We spent our days exploring the local area, walking through leaf-strewn paths, visiting quaint shops, and enjoying meals at local eateries. Each activity was a reminder of the simple pleasures we had always enjoyed together. The time away from our usual routine allowed us to reconnect in a more relaxed and carefree environment. One afternoon, as we sat on a bench overlooking a serene lake, Rachel turned to me with a contemplative expression. "This trip has been really special," she said softly. "It's been nice to step away from everything and just focus on us." I nodded, feeling a sense of contentment. It has been special. It's important to take time for ourselves and remember why we're doing this. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the process that we forget to appreciate the moments we share. As we talked, we reflected on the progress we had made and the challenges we had faced. It was clear that while we were moving forward, there were still areas that needed attention. However, the trip had provided a valuable perspective and a renewed sense of connection. On the final evening of our getaway, we enjoyed a quiet dinner by the fireplace, savoring the comfort of the cozy setting. The conversation flowed easily, and there was a sense of peace between us. It was a moment of clarity amidst the ongoing work of rebuilding our relationship. After dinner, we took a leisurely walk through the crisp night air, the stars shining brightly overhead. As we strolled, Rachel took my hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "I'm grateful for this time together. It's been a reminder of the love and connection we have, even when things are tough." I looked at her, feeling a deep sense of appreciation. I am too. It's moments like these that reinforce why we're putting in the effort. We're building something meaningful, and despite the challenges, it's worth every bit of work. Returning home, we carried with us a renewed sense of purpose. The trip had been a much-needed respite, and it had given us a fresh perspective on our journey. The challenges were still present, but the time away had reinforced our commitment to each other and to the process of rebuilding. In the weeks that followed, we continued to focus on maintaining the balance between addressing our issues and celebrating our successes. The lessons from our getaway were integrated into our daily lives, helping us to navigate the ongoing challenges with a renewed sense of optimism. The autumn season was a time of reflection and renewal. As we faced the future together, we were guided by the progress we had made and the commitment we had to each other. The journey was ongoing, but with each step, we were building a stronger, more resilient relationship, ready to face whatever lay ahead with a sense of hope and determination. The winter season arrived with its usual chill, but it also brought a sense of anticipation. Rachel and I had made considerable progress over the past few months, and our efforts to rebuild our relationship seemed to be taking root. We continued to use the framework we had developed, and the regular check-ins were helping us stay aligned and focused. As the end of the year approached, we decided to celebrate the holidays with a sense of purpose. We wanted to mark the occasion not just as a time for festive cheer but as a milestone in our journey of renewal. The plan was to host a small gathering with close friends and family, a way to share our progress and our hope for the future. The preparations for the gathering were both exciting and challenging. We spent days planning the menu, decorating our home, and organizing the event. The process was a collaborative effort, and it gave us a chance to work together towards a common goal. It was a reminder of the positive aspects of our relationship and the joy of shared experiences. On the day of the gathering, our home was filled with warmth and light. The decorations created a festive atmosphere, and the aroma of home-cooked dishes filled the air. Our guests arrived, and the evening unfolded with laughter, conversation, and a genuine sense of connection. Throughout the evening, Rachel and I took moments to step back and appreciate the scene. Seeing our friends and family enjoying themselves was a testament to the progress we had made. It was a celebration not just of the holidays but of the journey we had undertaken together. As the night wore on, we found ourselves standing on the porch, looking out at the snow-covered landscape. The tranquility of the moment was a stark contrast to the bustling activity inside. Rachel turned to me, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the holiday lights. "This has been really meaningful," she said quietly. "It's a reminder of how far we've come and how much we have to look forward to." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. It really is. We've worked hard to get to this point, and it's moments like these that make it all worthwhile. It's a chance to celebrate not just the holidays but our journey and the progress we've made. The conversation turned to reflections on the past year and hopes for the future. We talked about our goals and aspirations, both as individuals and as a couple. It was a moment of clarity and optimism, a chance to look ahead with a sense of purpose and hope. As the year drew to a close, we found ourselves filled with a renewed sense of determination. The challenges of the past had not disappeared, but the progress we had made was a source of strength and encouragement. The gathering had been a powerful reminder of the positive aspects of our relationship and the support of those around us. The transition into the new year was marked by a quiet, introspective celebration. We spent New Year's Eve reflecting on the lessons we had learned and the growth we had experienced. It was a time to acknowledge the difficulties we had faced and to embrace the possibilities of the future. In the early hours of the new year, as the first light of dawn began to appear, Rachel and I sat together, feeling a sense of renewal and hope. The road ahead remained uncertain, but we were ready to face it with the same commitment and resilience that had brought us this far. The new year was a blank canvas, full of potential and promise. We were determined to continue working on our relationship, building on the progress we had made, and embracing the opportunities that lay ahead. With each step, we were creating a future that was grounded in hope, commitment, and a renewed sense of connection. The new year brought a sense of fresh beginnings and renewed energy. Rachel and I continued to navigate the complexities of our relationship, but with each passing day, there was a growing sense of stability and progress. We had set ambitious goals for ourselves, and now it was time to focus on maintaining the momentum we had built. One of our key goals for the year was to strengthen our communication and deepen our understanding of each other. We recognized that clear and honest communication was essential for overcoming the lingering challenges from the past and for building a stronger foundation for our future. To support this goal, we decided to enroll in a couples workshop focused on communication and emotional intimacy. The workshop was designed to provide tools and strategies for enhancing connection and resolving conflicts in a constructive manner. We were both eager to learn new techniques and to apply them to our relationship. The workshop was held over a weekend and included a mix of presentations, exercises, and group discussions. The sessions were intense but enlightening, offering us new perspectives on how to navigate our interactions more effectively. We learned about active listening, expressing needs and feelings, and handling disagreements with empathy and respect. One exercise in particular stood out to us. We were asked to engage in a mirroring activity, where one partner would share their thoughts and feelings while the other would reflect back what they heard. This exercise was designed to improve our understanding and validation of each other's experiences. As we took turns in the activity, I was struck by the depth of emotion and insight that emerged. It was an eye-opening experience, revealing both the nuances of our individual perspectives and the areas where we needed to improve our communication. Rachel's responses were thoughtful and genuine, and I felt a renewed sense of connection as we engaged in this exercise. The workshop also included practical strategies for maintaining and nurturing our relationship in everyday life. We discussed ways to create quality time, set boundaries, and support each other's personal growth. The workshop provided us with a toolkit of techniques that we were excited to integrate into our daily routine. Returning home, we felt a sense of accomplishment and optimism. The workshop had been a valuable experience, and we were eager to apply what we had learned to our relationship. We set aside regular times to practice the new techniques, such as active listening and intentional communication, and made a conscious effort to implement them in our interactions. In addition to our focus on communication, we continued to prioritize activities that fostered connection and enjoyment. We spent weekends exploring new hobbies, engaging in meaningful conversations, and enjoying moments of relaxation together. These activities helped reinforce the positive aspects of our relationship and provided a sense of shared fulfillment. Despite our efforts, there were still moments of tension and disagreement. However, the tools and strategies we had learned at the workshop helped us address these challenges with greater understanding and empathy. We approached conflicts with a renewed sense of purpose, using the techniques to navigate disagreements and find common ground. One evening, as we reflected on the progress we had made, Rachel looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "I feel like we're really making strides," she said. "The workshop gave us some great tools, and I think we're becoming better at communicating and supporting each other." I agreed, feeling a sense of pride in our progress. We've come a long way. It's not always easy, but the effort we're putting in is making a difference. I'm hopeful about what the future holds for us. The journey of rebuilding our relationship was ongoing, but the new tools and insights had given us a renewed sense of confidence and hope. We were learning to navigate the complexities of our partnership with greater clarity and understanding. As we continued to work on our relationship, we remained committed to the goals we had set and the progress we had made. The challenges of the past were still present, but with each step, we were building a stronger and more resilient connection. The future was full of possibilities, and we were ready to face it together. Armed with the tools and insights we had gained,